What's going on, family? Welcome to the Manny Arango Ministries YouTube channel. So happy that you clicked on this video because today we are going to be getting into the books that every Christian should read. That's right. There are some fundamental books that every single Christian should read. Previously, I've done a video on every book that every new Christian should read. The books that every new Christian should read. If you haven't seen that video, you may want to watch that right now or even after this video. But this is all the books that every Christian should read. We got a solid stack of books here for you today. And these books have blessed my life a lot and have added a lot of value to my understanding of Jesus and the character and nature of God and the Bible. And let's get into it. Before we actually review any of these books, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. If the content that we produce helps you or blesses you, we want you to leave a comment in the comment section. We definitely want you to share this content with your friends. And we're on a journey together. I love the fact that you're probably on the ground level. I mean, we've only been producing videos for a couple of weeks at this point. And thank you for all your support. If you've watched every single video that we've produced so far, how about you let us know in the comment section? We'd love to build community with those of you who have been really faithfully watching this content. I'm so excited to be delivering some content that is longer, too long for Instagram and other platforms. So I'm really excited. And today we're going to get into the books that every single Christian should read. And with no further ado, let's jump in. The first book that has really blessed my life is a book entitled The Normal Christian Life by an author named Watchman. The Normal Christian Life by an author. His name is Watchman. This is an incredible book. An absolutely incredible book. Blessed my life. I read this in about a week. Man, I marked this thing up. A lot of highlighter marks, lots of notes that I took in this book. Great book. And honestly, I can't say enough about it. He kind of goes through the book of Romans. It's almost like a commentary on the book of Romans, and he kind of works through salvation, sanctification. It's really good. Yeah. I literally was just flipping through and saw this. Do you see the oneness of human life? ? Our life comes from Adam. If your great grandfather had died at the age of 3, where would you be? You would have died in him. Your experience is bound up with his. And in just the same way, the experience of every one of us is bound up with that of Adam. None of us can say, I have not been in Eden, for potentially we were there when Adam yielded to the serpent's words. So we were all involved in Adam's sin, and by being born in Adam, we receive from him all that he became as a result of his sin. That is to say, the Adam nature, which is the nature of a sinner. And so easy, like concepts like original sin, like why is the wages of sin death? Yeah, we are sinners, not because of ourselves, but because of Adam. It is not because I individually have sinned that I am a sinner, but because I was in Adam when he sinned. Because by birth I come of Adam, therefore I am a part of him. What is more, I can do nothing to alter this. I cannot, by improving my behavior, make myself other than a part of Adam, and so a sinner. I love that. I mean, huge nugget of truth right there. The Normal Christian Life by Watchman. We're going to put the links in the description right down below. Make sure you grab these books because, man, this content is brilliant. Next book is a book, great title, really simple. The title of the book is just Fasting by Jentezen Franklin. This book has honestly helped me to understand the power and the reason, the purpose behind fasting. I really, really love this book, and every time I am going to embark on a fast, I actually go through this book, skim through it one more time, and read this. If you're a Christian, Jesus says this, when you fast, okay, he doesn't say if you fast, he says when you fast. Don't like do it like the Pharisees, actually like clean your face, put some oil on your head, go out. What you do in secret will be rewarded in secret. And if you do things for other people, it'll be rewarded by other people, by the applause of people. And I love that one verse because Jesus doesn't say, if you fast, he says when you fast, which means fasting is a part of the normal Christian life. And if you're going to be a strong Christian, if you're going to be a strong believer, I believe that you probably want to understand fasting. Every single January, our church goes on a fast, and somewhere around December, I picked this book up and I refresh my spirit with the truth that's found in this book, because I believe in the power of fasting, and I don't just want to do it because my church is doing it or everybody around me is doing it. I really want to fast because if I fast just because I'm peer pressured into doing it, then I don't really get the biggest reward out of it. But if I do it with the grace of God and with full understanding, then God actually blesses my sacrifice. So the first book is The Normal Christian Life by Watchman. The second book that I'm recommending for every Christian is Fasting by Jentezen Franklin. You can grab a copy, hit that link below. The third book is actually The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. This is an amazing book in which there is a older demon named Screwtape, and he's writing Screwtape is the uncle, and he's writing to his nephew, who's a younger apprentice demon named Wormwood, and they're exchanging conversations back and forth via letters. And so very, very creative take on spiritual warfare in this book. C.S. Lewis kind of sets up these two characters, an older demon who's affectionately known as Uncle Screwtape, and a younger demon who's in training known as Wormwood. And C.S. Lewis takes everything that we know from the Bible about spiritual warfare, and he puts it in this kind of format with letters in between this younger apprentice demon and this older uncle who's been a demon for a long, long time. And you get to see like what do demons say about us, about Christians. And there's one powerful scene in the book where they're writing back and forth to each other, and Wormwood is saying to his Uncle Screwtape, I cannot penetrate the believer's thoughts when they're praying. And they talk about the power of prayer, and they're talking about how they're powerless. These demonic forces are powerless when believers are praying. And it was just a really, C.S. Lewis was able to paint a mental picture in my mind through this creative take on spiritual warfare that has stuck with me for years. And so if you're a Christian, I'm saying you should really read anything that C.S. Lewis writes, but you should certainly read The Screwtape Letters, because it is just a classic book. Anything by C.S. Lewis is going to be worth your time. And yeah, I'm like getting distracted because I wrote a bunch of notes to myself in these books. And yeah, that's great. I wonder what this says. Yeah, this is great. Anyway, sorry, totally got distracted. The next book is another classic, an older author who's not even alive anymore. This is by a man by the name of A.W. Tozer. Man, I marked that thing up, didn't I? I really got in there. I was really excited about this book when I first read it. This is The Knowledge of the Holy by A.W. Tozer. The Knowledge of the Holy by A.W. Tozer. And actually, the beginning of this book really speaks to me. What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. The history of mankind will probably show that no people has ever risen above its religion, and man's spiritual history will positively demonstrate that no religion has ever been greater than its idea of God. Worship is pure or base as the worshiper entertains high or low thoughts of God. And so this book is all about the character and nature of God. Who is God? So typically there's a chapter on the immutability of God, the chapter on the infinitude of God, the chapter on the eternity of God, the chapter on the self-sufficiency of God. This is the self-existence of God. There's a chapter on the Holy Trinity. So this is basic doctrine, okay? Just who is God, working through the character and the nature of God, pretty much like characteristic by characteristic. And this is a must-grab book. You gotta get Knowledge of the Holy by A.W. Tozer. Absolutely incredible book. The next book is probably the most difficult book on the list, but I believe in you, all right? This book really, this book expanded my mind when it came to who I believed God to be, and that is Knowing God by J.I. Packer. Knowing God by J.I. Packer. This is not for theological lightweights. This is some heavy bench pressing right here. You may need to read this with a dictionary. Incredible book. I believe every single Christian should read Knowing God by J.I. Packer. J.I. Packer is more on the Reformed side of things, or as we would say, Calvinist maybe side of things. I'm pretty Pentecostal myself, and so I don't subscribe to all of the doctrine that J.I. Packer subscribes to, but this book is absolutely incredible, and it was fundamental to my understanding of God, his character, theology. Much like the Knowledge of the Holy, Knowing God is going to work through, see right here, I just opened up to the wrath of God, which is an entire chapter, the judgment of God, the grace of God, the love of God, the word, the fact that the word of God is truth, God's wisdom, the majesty of God, God's unchanging. I'm almost tempted to read this book again. I've read it about 2 or 3 times in my life, and every time I read this book, my wife has read this book, I've read this book, I recommend this book a lot. And I believe, if there's any book here that every Christian should read, it is certainly this one. I would have put this in my video for new Christians, but to be honest, this is just a little too weighty, all right? This is filet mignon, okay? And I think a new believer may just need bite-sized chunks. But if you've read all the books on the new Christian video that I did, and we can drop a link right here in this video. If you've watched this video here and you've read all those books, then you are definitely ready to graduate to these books. And this is a way more complicated book, but I think that it would really help you. Now, if you're reading any of these books, please drop comments below if you've got questions for me. I'd love to answer any of your comments. You can just copy and paste a quote from the book and ask your question, and I'd be more than willing to kind of help anybody understand anything in any of these books, because I've read a lot of them. The last book is Power Through Prayer by E.M. Bounds. I think that every Christian should have a prayer life. Every Christian should understand the inner workings of prayer and how to communicate with God. And I think Power Through Prayer, look how thin this guy is. It is not a big book. It is a rather thin book. I mean, you can get through this really, really fast. And the good news is that I'm pretty sure there's an audiobook version of this. I love audiobooks. And again, I went through this book rather fast. Yeah, this is a great book. And so I think that you should grab all of these books. I'm like getting distracted. You can tell I've got ADHD because I just start reading. And also, if you're a preacher, you definitely should grab this book, because Ian Bounds talks about not just having a preaching life, but a prayer life, and that it is the richness of the soil of prayer that produces the fruit of great preaching. So a couple of books that every Christian should read: Power Through Prayer by Ian Bounds. You should grab that. Get the link below. Knowing God by J.I. Packer. You should definitely grab that. The link is below in the description box. And Knowledge of the Holy. You should grab that by A.W. Tozer. You can hit that link in the description and go ahead and get that right now. Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. This is an all-time classic. Honestly, I've got a whole stack of books over here. I don't even know if you can see these, but all these books are by C.S. Lewis. I keep all the C.S. Lewis books kind of separate from everything else. And yeah, I love C.S. Lewis as an author and as a thought leader. Fasting by Jentezen Franklin. You can go ahead and grab that. There's a link in the description. And last but certainly not least, Watchman is also someone who I would recommend any book that he's ever written. This is my favorite. Watchman is incredible. He was a figurehead. He was alive from 1903 to 1972, and he's remembered for his leadership of an indigenous church movement in China, as well as for his books, which continue to enrich Christians throughout the world. So, Chinese Christian author, and I just always feel like it's great to not get our theology from one group or from one perspective. So we've got some Calvinist, more Reformed perspectives, some Pentecostal perspectives, because Jentezen Franklin is definitely like real Pentecostal, real fiery. Some classics in here: C.S. Lewis, A.W. Tozer, Ian Bounds, and then like an author that's not American, which I just think is great to expand our thinking. Watchman Nee, Chinese Christian who led the indigenous Chinese church movement. These are the books that every Christian should read. These are the books that every single Christian should read. I hope that this video was super helpful to you. And I'm just gonna hold those right there, because these are the books that every single Christian should read. Subscribe to this channel so that you can be abreast of every single video that drops. I really hope that this content helps you, takes your walk with Jesus and your ministry to the next level. Till next time, see you soon.